And we're just going to move straight into the headlines for today. We've got a bunch of stuff happening. So we're going to hit these stories really quickly. Not going to talk about them a whole lot. First, for Huntsville, the Panoply Arts Festival is canceled. That's a yearly arts festival that a lot of folks go to. It was scheduled for April 24th through the 27th, but the folks in charge of Panoply said that what they're going to do this year is have a sort of virtual arts festival. So every day through to when they would have normally had Panoply, from now till then, they're going to be showcasing some local artists on their Facebook page. So go and follow them if you haven't. There's a bunch of really good local artists in Huntsville. And of course, during this time, they're going to be really hard hit. They're going to be sharing their virtual tip jars, the artists' virtual tip jars. And Panoply has a artist fund. So if you want to contribute to an individual artist, they'll be sharing their information. And if you want to contribute to Panoply's artist fund, then do that. You know, a world without art is terrible. I wouldn't want to live in that kind of world. So we need to support these kind of folks because they're obviously among the hardest hit by the entertainment industry being shut down.
Yeah, and they're and at the end of the day, they're workers as well. You know,
Absolutely.
Me and my daughters have went to Panoply for 10, 12 years now, and I've been going long before I started taking them, and it's such a wonderful event, and they do a great job. They bring a lot of not just local artists, but artists in general all over the Southeast region into the area, so we definitely need to do whatever we can to help those folks out.
Yeah, absolutely. So help them out if you can. Definitely follow them, share their art. It's some good stuff. There's some really talented folks in there. A few days ago, Governor Ivey issued a stay-at-home order. What changed from what she said a week ago? Not that much that I can figure. There's a bit stricter limits on the number of people allowed in buildings and stuff like that. But really substantively, there's just not that much more difference. If you read the order, that it has a place of exceptions, and it's like everything that you can imagine yourself wanting to do, there's an exception for. So, you know, that puts a lot of emphasis on our action as individuals to, you know, do what needs to be done, and that is limit your traveling outside as much as possible. You know, don't go to the grocery store for every little thing. Like, I want some soy butter right now. I'm allergic to peanut butter, so I eat soy butter. Lauren was making some cookies for herself, some peanut butter cookies. I couldn't have any. I wanted some soy butter, but, you know, like, I'm not going to the grocery store right now because we just had our big stock up a couple of days ago. So, you know, like, wait a few days if it's just one thing. Like, if you just need some peanut butter, you just need, like, some crackers, like, just hold on and wait, right? There's something
you haven't been out today?
I have not been out today. No.
So let me tell you what changed real quick. Because of course I'm an essential worker. Even though what I do is not actually essential, we could put it off for months and we would still be perfectly fine. I had to go to work today, and it was also the day that I normally go grocery shopping. So everybody sent me their list, and I stopped on the way home. But I passed by 2 Lowe's on the way home, and they were both slammed. I mean,
okay.
I can't even describe. If I were to tell you, you wouldn't believe it, but what normally looks like a Lowe's on a Sunday is quadrupled.
That's insane.
I mean, there's not only is there not a change, there is a change. It's this people's going to do stupid stuff instead of staying at home.
Yeah. Well, and when I went to Walmart for our big stock up trip, I went by myself because, like, you don't have to have, like, me and my wife don't have to go to Walmart to do the grocery. Like, just one of us has to go, right? It's not a 2-person job. I saw families, I saw boyfriends and girlfriends, I saw groups of teenagers that are like, what are y'all doing? That's not the, you know, I don't know. But something that I did see that was not related to the number of people in a building or the way that businesses are open or whatever, but that I thought was significant is that there is an official moratorium on evictions and foreclosures. There was a sort of unofficial moratorium on that because the processes that you need to have to issue an eviction or to carry out an eviction and a foreclosure were not open. But now there's officially stated in the state of Alabama, like, you cannot be evicted, you cannot be foreclosed on during this time. But it's pretty clear that it's not a rent forgiveness, right? You still owe your rent. So after this is over, if you haven't paid your rent and your landlord has not forgiven your rent, then you're still going to owe it, and they can still evict you, right? So don't take this and like just not pay rent. Organize a rent strike. You know, like if you cannot pay rent right now, try to get your tenants, your fellow tenants, to not pay rent with you, because that's the only way that you're going to be safe. That's the only way that you're not going to be out on the streets in a few months. If you just take action as an individual, like, you're going to be screwed. And we don't want that, right? And if you can pay rent and somebody in your complex is trying to organize a rent strike because they're going to be homeless in a few months, if they have to pay rent, don't pay rent. Stand in solidarity with them. Don't cross that picket line, right? If there's a rent strike organized in your complex, do not pay rent. You know, that is the only way to keep your neighbors from being out on the streets. And that's important. The same reason that you don't go to work while there's a picket line outside. Same reason that you don't shop at a place when workers are striking. Like, we have to be there for each other. So that's pretty important. Anything else that you want to say on that, David?
You know, this rent strike thing, I had never put a whole lot of thought into it up until the last few weeks. In all honesty, in the last few weeks, you know, I think it's important. I honestly, whenever I first heard it, I thought it was stupid. I thought, you know, I've never had a problem paying rent, but at the same time, now that you look at 6.5 million workers, and God knows how many more over the next month, 2 months, possibly. I mean, this is probably going to go on a whole lot longer than that. Yeah, I mean, I get it. The landlords are hurting for money as well. You know, they probably got mortgages, or, you know, if they're an apartment complex, they've got some type of capital invested in it that they need to repay. But I think there's a lot more resources that has been put in place for them than what has been put in place for workers. And so, yeah, I'm 100% behind that.
That's exactly right. And like you said, I've never had any problem paying rent. I paid rent for the month of March. Before March was over, none of the other tenants that I know of, like, I'm not in a complex, I'm in a duplex. Like, he owns a few different houses, so I don't really have a whole lot of contact with the other tenants. But the tenants that I do have contact with, they're all fine. Like, they're all in a pretty similar situation to me. We paid rent. Like, it's not, you know, I'm not a guy that's going to tell everybody to, like, not pay your rent. Like, I think that, you know, like, if you can pay your rent, like, you know, pay your rent. Like, there's no reason not to. But if you can't, don't do it by yourself. Get other people to do it too. Because I've seen so many stories of people having their rent forgiven because they went with their tenant, with the other tenants in the building, and told the landlord that they can't pay rent, and so their rent was forgiven.
Yeah.
Right?
At the end of the day, it's all about collective action.
That's right. So the next story is that IATSE Local 900, the International Association of Theatrical and Stagehand Employees, Local 900 in Huntsville. Like I was talking about earlier with the Panoply, entertainment workers were hit hard and fast by this coronavirus. And so the Local 900 of the Theatrical and Stagehand Employees Union here in Huntsville, they have been laid off for weeks already, but that has given them a bit of an expertise with the Alabama unemployment system. So they have, as the Secretary Treasurer of the Labor Council, they wanted me to put it out to all the other local unions in the area and any other workers in the area that if you are having a lot of trouble figuring out the unemployment system in Alabama, let us know, let me know, send me an email. message our pages, anything, like comment on this video, or however you have to get in touch with me. My email is jmm0070@alumni.uah.edu. Send me a message and I'll get you in touch with those union workers, because they've got, they said, you know, they all applied for unemployment together, so they, you know, they've got a lot of expertise with that, and they're there to help you if you need some help navigating the unemployment system. So I think that's some really good work that they're doing. I really appreciate them, and I appreciate them offering their services to the workers of Huntsville and North Alabama.
Yep. Shout out to all of our IATSE employees out there, our brothers and sisters out there as well, struggling, seriously struggling. And you mentioned your email, but what I'd also like to do real quick is say, if you're not following us on Facebook, follow us on Facebook, on Twitter. You can DM us there. I mean, it's real easy to find. Tennessee Valley Labor Report.
Yes. Yep. So the coronavirus, Alabama is currently at 1,739 confirmed cases with 45 deaths. That is as of like 4 o'clock is when I got this information, 4 o'clock on Sunday, April the 5th. So by the time that you see this, hopefully it'll be up tomorrow. Obviously that number is going to be a little bit higher, going to be significantly higher. But very significant thing about the state of Alabama is that we are now projected to have the most deaths per capita in the United States by the Institute for Health Metrics and Estimation, which is a research center in the University of Washington. And, you know, why is that? Well, what did David say earlier about folks going to Lowe's after a stay-at-home order was issued? Lowe's. Yeah. What do you need it? What, you know?
Well, it's not just that, though, man. You got to take into consideration, Alabama didn't expand Medicaid when they had the opportunity. We've closed, 9, 11 hospitals in the past couple of years. They recognize that we don't have the resources that a lot of the states do. We don't have the Medicaid funding that the states do, and we've lost so many hospitals and so many of those healthcare providers that were at those hospitals. We are literally because of the inept leadership of our state over a barrel right now, because they wanted to toe the Republican line and say, oh, we're not going to endorse socialism.
Right.
It's insanity.
Speaking of not expanding Medicaid, preventable cancer is on the rise in Alabama. Cervical cancer mortality rates and instances of cervical cancer have increased in the state of Alabama. That is in the rest of the developed world and in the rest of the United States, that is widely regarded as a preventable disease. That is widely regarded as a disease that you can recover from. But in Alabama, that is not the case. Our instances of death from cervical cancer are rising. Our instances of cervical cancer in general are rising. Treatments are going down. And why? Because poor people don't have health care. They're not getting health care. It's seriously insane. And
it's the same way in the South. In these Times wrote an article here about a year ago about the epidemic of ringworm in the South, and it's like they likened it to a third world country. They said, the reporter said, even in third world countries, they had never seen the epidemic widespread like it is in South Alabama, and it's an absolute shame.
It's a shame. You mentioned inept leadership in our state, and this will maybe, I don't know if it'll make you feel better, but it'll show you that we're not the only ones. Brian Kemp, the governor of Georgia, is an idiot. Okay, in the middle of this week, it was Wednesday or Thursday or Tuesday, sometime, he was giving a press conference on the coronavirus, and he said that the coronavirus has asymptomatic transmission, which means that you can transmit, you can infect people with the coronavirus. You can have the coronavirus and not be showing symptoms, and before you exhibit symptoms, you can infect other people, right? That's called asymptomatic transmission. You can infect other people before you start showing symptoms, okay? He said that Tuesday or Wednesday, something, and he was like, and we just found this out 24 hours.
Found it out. How is that?
How is that?
How is that? How is it that every redneck in the state of Alabama knew that you could catch it from people 2 weeks before they started showing symptoms, but the governor of Georgia didn't?
The governor of Georgia, 10 million people live in Georgia.
Do they not have a health advisor to the governor that tells him, hey, this is the case?
That's one of the first things that I remember hearing about the coronavirus. Like, as soon as that got on my radar, was that the coronavirus has asymptomatic transmission. Mm-hmm. But the governor of Georgia did not know that until this week, until the end of March or the beginning of April. What foolishness. I mean, that insanity. And then it's doubly stupid because on top of not knowing, he said in a press conference that he didn't know. Like, oh man, it's
hard to believe.
It's hard to believe.
It is truly hard to believe that out of the entire nation, one of 50 states has an elected official that has absolutely zero clue, which, don't get me wrong, I'm not supporting Kay Ivey, but at least she didn't come out and say something as stupid as that.
Right. I'm sure she knew that it had asymptomatic transmission.
I would hope so.
But, and that really kind of underscores the ineptitude in our leadership class. And I hear people all the time when I talk about politics, they're like, oh, I'm not qualified. I don't know enough to know and to talk about politics. I don't know enough to run for office. And it's like, sit down with a politician, okay? Just any politician, sit down with them, and you're probably as smart as they are. Like, you are,
by and large.
By and large, you are as capable of doing their job as they are. And this is one of those instances that really, like, the mask falls on. So coronavirus cases in the United States have passed 328,000. We have now had 9,368 deaths. That means that there are more reported cases in the United States than anywhere else in the world. Data from China is suspect. That's, there have been a lot of issues, a lot of good reporting coming out suggesting that China is not being honest with their numbers, and I believe that's reasonable. But even if China has had more cases than we have, then we are second only to China, where the virus originated. So, not good.
Yeah.
Not good.
I mean, and in fairness, you've got to consider the travel that business in the United States does, and the size and the population of the United States compared to like even Italy that's struggling right now. We dwarf Italy in population. So in fairness, there's some reasonable, when you put that into perspective, but it could have been, it could have been hedged off quite a bit longer. When all we were talking about is no big deal, it's going to be nothing more than the flu and what have you.
So that gets us through the headlines.
You just watched a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We're in North Alabama talking about the news for workers, by workers. We're going to be on the radio on 92.5 FM, 770 AM in the Huntsville, Decatur, Athens listening area on Saturdays from 9:30 to 11 AM beginning in May. We believe that this is a really good opportunity to put new ideas in front of a conservative talk show audience. This is an audience that has never so much as heard the word union in a positive light. But we need help raising the funds to purchase the airtime. So if you could afford to send us a few bucks, you can do that by going to patreon.com/The Valley Labor Report. If you can't afford to do that, that's fine too. There are a lot of people going through some really rough times right now. So if you could just share our videos, that would be really helpful. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you.